Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Slow Life Trading. Uh, this is gonna be a good video. Okay. It's one for the long weekend. It may be a little bit long, but that's okay. Go get your drink. Put this on pause. Okay. Go get you a ice cold beverage, whether that's Coke, tea, or whatever it is. Get you a comfortable chair. If you can, put this on your big screen or whatever you watch your television on, okay, or your YouTube on. Hey, you can even watch it on your phone. I do a lot of time. But anyway, and get comfortable, because I'm going to teach you something today, okay? What I'm going to teach you is, first of all, you got to realize about 10% of trading is the strategy, okay? About 90% of it is mental. You got to get that mind right, okay? So I'm going to give you some things that you can do to help you get your mind right, okay? We also say that you need to be disciplined and you need to be patient. I may touch on them a little bit, but what I'm really going to touch on is going to help you adjust, get your mental mind right, okay? And stop losing if you're losing, and learning how to lose correctly, properly. Because if you don't learn how to lose properly, guys, you're not going to be winning, okay? So here we go. You have to have a plan, okay? So we got to fix some of those weaknesses that you have with trading, okay? Here's how we do it. The first thing is, do not trade with all of your money, okay? I'm going to start out small. If you have a $10,000 account, the most you want to be trading with is about $8,000, okay? If you have a $100,000 account, and sometimes we can get greedy and we want to trade with all of it, but the most you want to be trading with is $80,000. If you have a $50,000 account, okay, the most you want to be trading with is $40,000. Basically, at least doing the strategy that I use, okay, you adjust your strategy according to the way that you trade. But whatever you do, do not trade with all your money, okay? I say on the high side, this is the high side when you have really gotten to be really, really good at trading. Do not trade with over 80% of your account, okay? And if you do, only do it for a little bit and then go right back to the 80%. Like if you see something that's irresistible and you have to take it. You can take it, but don't lose no more than what you would make in a typical day, okay? Anyway, so that's rule number one. Don't trade with more than 80%. Okay, now, we're moving on. I'm trying to help you build a plan for success in trading, okay? Number two, when you're doing your trading and you're making out your plan, first of all, don't trade willy-nilly. In other words, don't trade on a whim. Make you out a plan, okay? And then try to follow it. And I'm going to show you some ways to help you follow it. Because the biggest way that we don't follow it is one or two things. When we have a nice win, we won't take it, okay? And number two is when you're losing, we won't get out. So let's cover the winning part first. Set you up a point where if you hit a good win for you, and you need to determine this before you're trading. You know, sit down on a day when the market's not open or after the market closed and make out this plan, okay? If you say, let's say you're a directional trader or whatever kind of trader you are, and you say, okay, if I can make 10% a day, if I can make 50% a day, if I can make, depending on what kind of trader you are, 5% a day. You know me, I'm one of them guys that say, okay, all I need to be making is, on average, about 1% a day. Sometime a little higher, sometime maybe lower. But if I can make 1% a day, 1.5% a day, 1.25% a day, I'm happy. Okay. Now, if I make more than that, I'm extremely happy. But have you a point and put this in your plan. What kind of return will you be happy with? Okay. Now, how will you know what that amount is? The how you would know is calculate how many trades you have in a month. Okay. And then calculate if you win X amount of dollars, how much that would be if you won on every single one of them trades. If you won on every single one of them trades and you hit the number that you're happy with, that's the number you need to go for in your wins, okay? So, and it also depends on, and be realistic, guys. Let's don't be crazy. Let's don't say we want to make 100% a month, because we know that's not going to happen, okay? But if you say you want to make 15% a month, maybe even 20% a month, or, 5% a month, some people are happy to make 2% a month, okay? But let's just say it's somewhere around 5 to 10% a month. Believe it or not, guys, and this is something that I had to learn. If you can make 5 to 10% a month as an option trader, definitely 15 to 20. As an option trader, stock trader, futures trader, whatever kind of trader you are, you're knocking it out of the park. And if you're not knocking it out of the park, it's because the amount of money you're trading with is too small. Okay? But even at that rate, you're knocking it out of the park percentage-wise. So if you're trading with $3,000 and then at the end of the month, you make $1,000, guys, that is fantastic. That's 33%. Okay? And I know me, when I was trading with small amount like that, like $1,500, I wanted to take $500 and make $1,500 on one trade. Well, that can happen, okay? I'm not saying it cannot happen. But if that's what you're setting yourself up to make every single trade, to me, you're setting yourself up for a losing game. Okay, that's just my theory. I could be wrong. But also, I've been in the game since '96, and the way I trade has totally turned upside down. I'm a totally different trader now, and I have a totally different mindset than what I had in the beginning. Okay? So you got to keep all that in mind. And what I'm telling you now is some of the things that has helped me get to the point where I can now be a winning trader. Okay? So set up your realistic plan. And do this with the market close. Once you set up that plan, then that lets you know how much you need to make on each individual trade. Okay? So after you do that, now you need to know how much you are set. And then when you trade, when you hit that point, let me back up a little bit. When you trade and when you hit that winning point, guys, get out of the trade. I'm a credit spread trader. So my winning amount is already set up when I get into the trade. So I don't have that problem. My problem is on the other side. And we're going to discuss that too. Because I think this problem is even bigger than not taking wins. And that is not getting out at a loss. Okay? Whew. This is big. So in your plan, you need to have A, B, and C, okay? And then you probably need to have, you may or may not need D, but this is some stuff that you need to help you be good at A, B, and C, okay? First of all, you draw up your plan. Like you can win, almost every time, okay? Or like you can win the way that you predict that you can win, okay? That's number one. And that may take a while to do. Number two, you need to set up a point where you think you can. This is part B, by the way. Part B of this plan, you need to set up a situation where if you lose, and then if you lose, how many of these losses can you take in a month to still have a winning trade? Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Back to part B. You have to have a point in your mind, and you can even have it written on paper. How much am I willing to lose on each trade if it goes bad? Okay. And this is your mental stop. This is where that mental mind game come in at. Okay. How much am I willing to lose on a bad trade? When will I get out of this trade? At what dollar amount or what percentage amount? Depends on whichever one you use. I use mostly percentages when I'm talking about it. But whatever your number is, set that up to the point where in your mind and on this plan, you say, if it gets to this percentage or if it gets to this dollar amount, I'm getting out of them trades. Okay. And then be disciplined enough to follow it. Because if you can do that, you are good. You are really good. If you can do that, you still need plan C. But if you can do that, you won't be using plan C. Okay? But set that mental point up to the point where if I have this amount of stop, if it loses this amount of dollars, okay, I'm getting out of that trade. And you set that up based on what it would take for you to come back from that, to recover that. Okay. Okay. And then when you lose, guys, here's the thing. When you get to that point, if you know it's something that you can recover, get out of the trade. Okay. Because if it goes worse than that, now you're going to be wishing you would have got out of that trade. Okay. You can wish all you want to, but guess what? Those wishes ain't coming true. You didn't get out. So get out of the trade. Okay. Now it hurts. Don't get me wrong. But you need to get to the point to when you get out of a trade and you followed your rules, you need to get to the point where it don't hurt, because that's part of the game. That's part of trading. You got to learn how to get out of them stops and be disciplined and follow it. Okay? When you do that, you're on the right track to becoming a very successful trader. Okay? Okay, now let's go to plan number C. This is a big one. And for me, because I got a hard head and a soft bottom and a very soft wallet, I had to go to plan C. It took me years to get to this point, okay? I didn't use them. I had to get hit upside the head a few times before I learned to use them. And then you don't know where to put them. So I'm finna help you out here. Plan C is you want to put in a stop price, an exit stop, okay? Now, keep in mind, nobody else is making up this plan for you. You making up this plan for yourself. So you're not being, pardon my French, a slave to somebody else's rules. You just following your rules when you wasn't in a trade live. You following your rules when the market was closed. And when those things are going on, you're thinking more soundly, okay? So this number is the number where you say, I absolutely cannot lose more than X, okay? I don't know what your X is, but you know. And then you want to, when you're setting up this X, you want to know how long will it take you to recover from that? Or if you lose it, do you need to even worry about recovering? Because even if you lose it, you're still okay. Whatever that is. But what they call it is, in trading, it's that price where you say uncle, okay? And give up and get out of the trade. Well, you need to know what that price is before you're in a trade. Because once you're in a trade, your uncle price will move. It will go lower, okay? Because you think it's going to turn around. And it may not go lower mentally, but it'll be going lower in your account. And that's what we're trying to avoid, okay? So set up what I call an emergency break stop, Once you get that emergency brake stop, guys, you want to learn to not hit it, okay? And here's the thing that's magical that happens. When you know that's your emergency brake stop, what you will find yourself doing is getting out more times than not at your regular stop because you don't want to hit that emergency brake stop, okay? And when you start doing that, you're going to have losses that you can recover from a whole lot quicker and a whole lot easier, and they won't be as painful. And when they're not as painful, you won't be so afraid to keep trading, okay? This stuff is big because I'm telling you, it really is a mental game. Because if you hit that emergency brake stop, or if you don't put it on and you go beyond that, now you're scared to trade, okay? Because you feel like every time you trade, that could happen. Or you don't know when it could happen and you're afraid. And I'm going to tell you something, at least in my case, that emergency brake stop doesn't happen that often, okay? So you got to set this up, guys, and it's going to train you because you don't want to hit it. Let's say, for instance, you burn yourself on the stove cooking. You don't want to do that again. What you will find out is that you will do things where you don't burn yourself no more, okay? And it will become automatic. Your mind will automatically start adjusting and training you to make sure that you don't touch that hot whatever it is. All you need to do is about once or twice. Sometimes one time won't get it for us. Sometimes it takes twice. But once you get used to that, you will start to get out at what you call plan B, which is your regular stop price. Your regular stop price can be easily made up. If you hit plan B, it can be made up, but it's a lot harder. But you don't even want to go past that because those stops can either wipe you out, okay, where you can blow up your whole account. It can, oh my goodness. And if it don't, it can mess you up mentally for months, okay? It may mess you up totally and you just can't trade no more because you're like, I can't do that. So I'm telling you, you need to have plan A, whereas if you don't lose, plan B, where you can do it yourself because you got it down mentally, and plan C, in case you slip up. And let me tell you why you need plan C, even if you're good at plan B, this emergency brake stop. Because you may step out of the room, you may go to the restroom, you may be talking to somebody, the doorbell may ring, you may have to answer the door. You may be doing a whole bunch of things. Your wife or your husband may call you and draw your kids may be bothering you. And, when you get distracted on that, you're not gone for 1 minute. You may be gone for 30 minutes. And it don't even feel like it. Or 15, 20 minutes, okay? And all of a sudden, you come back and your emergency brake stopped and hit. You're like, whoa. Well, you glad you had that emergency brake stop because it could have been worse, okay? Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you're going to hit that emergency brake stop and you still could have had a win. We're not worried about those. What the ones that we're worried about is if you have that emergency brake stop. Now, if you don't have that emergency brake stop and then you lose because you can't come back from them, or it's a possibility you won't be able to. Whereas if you had an emergency brake stop, you can come back from that. Okay. And the only reason why it hit that emergency brake stop in the first place is because you wasn't watching it. You got distracted in some kind of way. Otherwise, you would have got out on your own before the end. And if you were watching it and you didn't get out before the end, thank God it did have the emergency brake stop. Okay. That is the proper way to set up a plan. Okay. I'm telling you, that's the proper way to set up a plan. At least it has been for me. Okay. And then I'm going to tell you something else. This is really, really a mental game here. Trading is so mental. You can have a loss and now you're scared to trade again, but you can have a big win and you want to keep on trading. And it's a problem with both of them. You have a big win. Now you think you can have a big win like that every single time. And I'm going to be honest with you. You're not going to hit the ball out of the ballpark every time you go up to bat. It's just not going to happen. Okay? So, the extreme cases, you got to know that they're extreme. You don't mind having an extreme win, but know that it's an extreme win. Okay? Know that it's not the norm. It's nice to get a small win, small win, small win, small win. Then all of a sudden you hit a big one and knock it out the park. Oh, that's awesome. Okay? I call that preparing for a loss before you lose it. And if you don't lose, it's even better. You make it up for it before you even had the loss. Okay? All that's good. One thing I noticed, it was a guy that I knew went, I don't know, they said he went, I don't know, 20 plus years without having a loss. Whew, that's hard. He may have went 20 some years without having a losing month, but I don't think a person can go 20 some years without having a single loss. That's kind of hard to do. But if he did, he did. Okay? Well, we're not going to depend on that because we're in a time where things that's going on in the news politically, we got wars, we got the Fed, we got the government, we got everything going on, okay? We got people getting killed, we got floods happening, we got fires happening, we got tornadoes happening, we got tsunamis. All these things can affect the market, okay? Bad weather like a snowstorm that shuts down half the country, or a third of the country, or a quarter of the country, or the whole state, or half a big city, whatever the case may be. Those things can affect the way the market moves, okay? So, you have to plan for things to go bad because they will, okay? It's kind of like death and taxes. You don't die every day, but you know you're going to die at some point. Well, you don't lose every day, but you know at some point you got to have a loss. And to me, failing to not plan for losing is a plan to fail, okay? You have to have it down. You have to do it. So I'm giving you some guidelines, okay? You got to fill in the details, but plan A, as if you never lose. Plan B, mental. That's where my stop wants to be. Plan C, in case for some reason I'm not winning every single time, I didn't get out like I was supposed to, boom. The computer, whatever it is, your hard stop that you already put in mentally when you put the trade on, okay? Gotta have that. Okay, now, let's dive into some of this mental game. What is a win and what is losing? Okay, the mental part of it. Okay, long time ago, I had 3 trucks that I drove over the road, okay? And I'm telling you, sometimes the money, and keep in mind, I was coming from a guy that had just a job. I was a mechanic, guys. When we had a good month as a mechanic, I might make not a whole lot of money, guys. Maybe $7,000, $8,000 in a month. That was a great month, but you can almost depend on the next month was not going to be great because that's just not how it works. And getting paid on commission in the automotive mechanic world, okay? And even 8,000 was extreme. Really, it might have been a $6,000 month or $5,000 month, somewhere in there. Could have been 6 or 7. But anyway, whatever it was big for me at the time, okay? Now, then I went to the trucking business, and then I had 1 truck, and then I had 2 trucks, then I had 3 trucks, okay? And then I was thinking about getting a 4th one, but then other stuff happened politically, so I just called it quits. Anyway, but this is some of the things that happened and that taught me a valuable lesson with trading. In the trucking business, when you have 3 trucks coming in, the kind of money that, as a guy that only had a job, the kind of money that you can bring in is incredible for me. But you don't get to keep it all. That's just the kind of money you had coming in gross. And then you got to get down to the net. So there was some months where I would have 65, 70,000 coming in 1 month, okay? And by the time I bought gas for every truck, paid payroll, paid to get the trailers washed out, all the stuff that come along with business. You know, doing your routine maintenance, changing the oil on your truck, changing the oil on your refrigerator trailer, all that kind of stuff, right? Getting your brakes adjusted, whatever the case may be, getting all that done. By the time I got done with that, with $65,000, on a good month, I would make 20 grand. Okay, that was great. I used to love them months. I was like, man, this is awesome. Didn't have that many of them months, by the way, but it was awesome. But this is what I want to talk about. So you having a month like that, right? And you looking at, man, by the time I pay everything, and you probably 3/4 of the way through the month. You got about another week and a half to go. And if you can get through this month, you're going to have a super great month, okay? All of a sudden, something happens to one of the trucks. And this is the one that drove me out of business, where I just got fed up and I couldn't take it no more. The rear end, and you know an 18-wheeler has 2 rear axles, okay? The last rear axle, not the front one towards the cab, the back one, it went bad, and he couldn't move, okay? I think the drive shaft dropped because the rear end locked up or something or another. Something, the gears got stripped or something. It was bad. So he was in the middle of nowhere. So I had to call out a tow truck to tow it someplace. Wait a minute, that's different. I don't know what all I done. I can't remember. It's been a while back, and they had a lot of breakdowns. But whatever the case may be, this particular guy, my driver sat on the side of the road while the guy was going to fix that rear end on the side of the road, which seems incredible to me. And I still had a truck that was full of food with my refrigerated trailer still running, okay? And then the driver got the front part of the truck still running because, I had one of them things where you could shut off the engine, and it was, I can't think what you call them right now, but it would run air conditioning to the truck with the engine not running. Well, it got to the point where it was there so long, he had to fill up the gasoline for the trailer and fill up the gasoline for that deal. They both ran off the gasoline or the diesel that was in the truck, but the truck tanks were running down. So 150-gallon tanks on each side, buddy, you're going to run out of gas. I mean, you're going to have to put some gas in there, and it's going to be expensive. So couldn't drive the truck, so we had the guy to deliver some gas and fill it, not fill it up, but put some in it. Anyway, come to find out, I had to put this guy in a hotel because things were getting ridiculous. So I had to pay to put him in a hotel. I bought his lunch and breakfast and dinner. And then I had to pay the guy to fix the truck. It took him 3 days, if I can remember this right. And it pretty much almost wiped out my profit for that month, okay? Now, you don't really see it because you divide it up between a few months. But it probably cost me, I don't know. I'm just going to guess because I can't remember. But let's just say it cost me $17,000. And I only made $3,000 for the month, not for the week, for the month, okay? Now, this is what I'm going to do to relate this back to trading, because I learned a valuable lesson from that to help me with trading. And here it is. If you're trading with 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, first of all, you don't want to be trading with no more than 80%. That's the first thing. Now, let's say you're trading with 100,000. The numbers make it easier. You know, I like to include everybody. Let's go to 10,000. If you trade with more than that, adjust the numbers to you, okay? Let's say you're trading with 10,000. And you're going through and you get to about where I was with a week and a half to go before the market closes. And your 10,000 is up to, let's say you up 12,000. Okay, that's 20%. You're knocking it dead. Okay, you're killing it. You up $2,000 on $10,000. That's 20%. Okay, you're having a great month. And then you have a big loss. Transmission, rear end goes bad. That's what I'm relating it to. All of a sudden, that loss wipes out almost all of your profit. Say like, I don't know, out of that $2,000, it knocks you all the way down to maybe $300. Okay. Man, that hurts. Oh, it hurts so bad. Okay. But, or let's say $300 or $500. Let's say $500. The math is easy at that point. So now at $500, you're at 5% for the month. But you still got 7 days left. So you go ahead on and try to trade. And you're so nervous because you done had this big trade, right? This big loss until you get in your next trade and you win. But your winning is so small because you don't want to lose it. You just win it small. And then you do another one and maybe you lose again. Back down below the 500. Then you win another one again. Anyway, you go through all this month and you done had some wins and losses because you're so nervous. You're taking trades early and you exiting early because you don't want to have a big loss, right? So you're not trading like you normally would. You're trading on pins and needles almost. Mental. It's messing with you, okay? Oh, and you're just so nervous. You're trying to get to the end of the month. And you end the month with about $600, okay? Even though you had 7 days left to trade. You were just too nervous and you couldn't make that much more money. Which is probably about, I don't know, 5.5% or something like that. 6%. I don't know what the numbers is, but a little over 5%. And you feeling all sad because you saying, man, I can't believe I lost all that. Let me tell you something to do that's going to help you mental. If you started that month with $10,000 and you ended that month with $10,600, I want to tell you something. That is not a losing month. That is a winning month, okay? And in trading, you got to know that. Because if you can take $10,000 and make $600 with it in a bad month, don't consider that as a loss. You haven't won until you get to the end of the month. At least that's the way I take it. And I'm telling you, if you take this approach, it can help you mentally in this trading game. Because trading is not easy. You can have some easy days. And that's great. We got to have them because those one days when it's hard, baby, it can mess with your mind, okay, and make you scared to trade. But if you have that stop in there, I'm telling you, it can change the game. Anyway, so you have this loss. And this may be your uncle point that got you out at this point, your stop. And it's like, oh, I can't believe it. I was doing so well. Oh, I was doing good. And you're like, man, you just depressed. But if you ended the month with $600, you better know that that's a win. Yeah, that's about 6%. So you end the month at 6% up. In trading, guys, there are people that would kill to have a 6% return every single month. Okay? So what if you was up 20? You still had a winning month. That's the main game. Okay? You didn't go down. You didn't have what they call a drawdown for that month. You had an increase. Don't be sad. Don't be blue. You managed to pull out a winning month with a bad loss. That's being able to get that in your head is part of learning how to be a good trader. Because losses are going to come, okay? Oh, man, unbelievable losses are going to come. That's why you put a stop in, so they won't be unbearable. They may be unbelievable, but they won't be unbearable, okay? But if you can tell yourself, even with that was a winning month. And here's the other part. When you go into the next month, don't go in it with a losing attitude. Go in it with a winning attitude because you started that previous month with 10,000. You ended it with 10,600. Okay? Everywhere I've looked, every time I added something up on a piece of paper, that comes up to a $600 profit. Okay? And when you go into the next month, don't go into the next month trying to make up that other, what is it, $1,400. That's done. That's in the past. What you need to do is just focus on trading now and focus on winning, because you had a winning month. You don't have to try to go in there trying to make up nothing. That's not the way this game works. You just keep trading. And if you keep winning, you'll finally surpass that point. Okay? But if you keep going on in your trading trying to make up that loss like you just had, and it wasn't even a loss, it was a win, in that case, that could mess you up mentally. Now, let me tell you what is a loss. If for some reason you went into the month with 10,000 and at the end of the month you had 9,800, that would be a loss. It's a small one. It's a one that you can tolerate, but it is a loss, okay? And here the other good thing is, it's a loss that you can make up. It would only be a $200 loss at that point, okay? You go into the next month trying to make that one back up. But if you ended the month at 10,000 even or at 10,100, you don't go into the next month trying to make up where you was in the middle of the month. Because at the end of the month, at the middle of the month, that's not the end of the month, okay? We go by what we started with and what we ended the month with. That's how we determine a winning month. Not how high it got in the middle and then we came down at the end. No. That's defined as a winning month, okay? And when you go into that next month, you do not go in it trying to make up that loss. Now, if you would have went into that next month and you was down to 9,000, okay, that would be considered a loss. It's not the worst thing in the world that can happen to you, but it is a loss. Now you go into the next month with that one trying to make up the loss. But here's the thing. When you're trying to make up that loss, don't go in with some revenge trading. Be surgical. Keep doing the same trades you've been doing, because when you've done your game plan, regular trades are supposed to be able to make up your losses. You don't have to do nothing extraordinary. You just keep on doing your regular trades. And with enough time and enough days and enough trades, you're supposed to be able to make up that loss. And every now and then, if you see the great opportunity, you know, Barry Bonds come up to the plate and knock a home run. Every now and then, if you see the perfect opportunity and you can make a little bit more, okay, you make a little bit more. But if you don't see that opportunity, don't be making no crazy chances trying to go for it. That's just going to make your losses worse and slow down your recovery. Okay? And then if you get to the end of the month and you end up with a profit and you made up that 1,000 plus your profit, hey, you're doing good. Okay? You're winning. So the stop loss and your mental stop does not stop you from losing. What it does is stop you from getting out of the game. And it helps your mental psyche, because both of these things will happen. You will have a regular loss and you're probably going to hit your stop loss. These things are going to happen. The better you get at executing your trade, the less time that you will have that you hit your emergency brake stop. Because you will, that emergency brake stop, just like that fire, you don't keep touching that hot pot. That emergency brake stop will teach you to be disciplined enough to get out of the trades before you hit it, okay? And you will have smaller losses. If you start having smaller losses, it's easier to have more wins or better winning months, okay? So, guys, we're playing this game of trading, and I'm telling you, when you learn some of these mental things here, you can learn how to win in this market, okay? You got some people have to put in way more time than others. I was one of them, okay? It took me years to learn all this stuff, okay? Going to seminars, reading books, trying to get my mind right. Can't sleep at night because I'm thinking about trading. How can I make myself better? How can I learn to play better defense with my trading instead of offense? You know, when we learn how to trade, all we focus on is how to make money, how to make money, how to make money. We don't really focus on how to not lose money, okay? But don't forget that part. You need to come up with a defensive game that's just as strong as your offensive game, okay? But when your defensive game becomes strong and solid and good, most of the time by then we've been already developed a good offensive game. That's when you will have the crossover and become a great trader. Anyway, guys, if you like this video and if this video has helpful to you, please give me a thumbs up and a like. And if you want to know more about Slow Life Trading, look in the description box down below. I'll tell you how to get on my email list and how to sign up for our classes and all of that, okay? And of course, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy your long weekend. And until the next time, guys, as I always say, peace out and keep it slow.